Thank you for making time to join our first health talk today on Women in Prayer. And I believe we're all excited and ready to hear Dr. Gbekor and to learn because he's very ready to give us a lot of tips tonight to be healthy women. We will delve right in, but before that, speaking with us is Dr. Delasy Kwame Gbekor, a general practitioner with interest in occupational health and safety. He's medical director at Landmark Healthcare Committee 20. He loves reading, working out, going on tour, playing basketball, charity work, among others. So, Delasy, Dr. Gbekor.
Yes.
Let's delve right in.
Right. Thank you very much. I'm grateful for the opportunity given me to share some knowledge with regards to nutrition, the right nutrition, and then physical exertion or physical activity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I read a research report,
right,
which mentioned that about 75% of women would likely be nutrition deficient if supplemental vitamins do not exist. It's also stated that women in general tend to be deficient in certain vitamins like vitamin D and iron. And the risk of vitamin and mineral deficiency only increases with age. And I thought it was quite interesting. It was an eye-opener for me. And I would like to know how true this is in our conversation today.
Right.
But first of all, let's talk about what nutritional deficiencies are. Tell us, what does it mean if I'm told I'm nutritionally deficient? What does it mean?
Right. So when we talk about nutrition, okay, the body requires specific nutrients for growth, for proper function of certain vital organs, or for improving the immune status of an individual. All right. So nutrients ensure that we have good health to go about our day-to-day activity. But in instances where you're unable to get those nutrients from your diet, then we're talking about you having a nutritional deficiency. Okay. With nutritional deficiencies, we have the various groups. We have your carbs, proteins, fats, vitamins, micronutrients, fiber-based diet, and of course water. Okay, so it's supposed to be proportionate, right? So the fact that you lack nutrients from any of these classes is what gives you the nutritional deficiency.
Okay. So what exactly leads to these nutritional deficiencies in women?
Right. So we have to look at it in various categories. When we talk about diet, we have to consider two things. We have to consider the intake, okay, or the proportions that the women take, or the quality. So you see, initially I said quantity, right?
Yeah.
So low intake, and then quality. You might have adequate intake, but the content is of low quality. This is pretty basic. We also have instances where, due to a medical condition, the body is unable to absorb these nutrients, and most of the one of the most common conditions you would see is in relation to the gastrointestinal system. So we may have conditions where the absorptive surface in the small intestine is damaged. So you're unable to absorb a lot of nutrients at the level of the small intestine. That's something we call malabsorptive disease. Okay. or syndrome. We could also have situations where there's a particular factor called intrinsic factor that's produced in the stomach, right? Intrinsic factor is very key. Okay, it helps in the absorption of an essential vitamin called vitamin B12. And B12 is very responsible for the manufacture of red blood cells, right? So this
Okay.
is another thing um, that can predispose a woman to uh, a nutritional deficiency, that's vitamin B12 deficiency. We could also have medical conditions like something called gastroenteritis. Now, with gastroenteritis, whether it's from a viral cause or bacterial cause, it's characterized by vomiting, diarrhea, and abdominal pain. So, right there, there's also some loss of nutrients. We could also talk about medications, right? There are quite a number of medications that can predispose you to nutritional deficiency. So we have a particular group of medications called the proton pump inhibitors. And then those who are in the medical field will know one of the drugs as Nexium. That's supposed to neutralize acid. It's one of the drugs we use when we are treating people with peptic ulcer. That is one drug that can affect absorption. We also have seizure medication, right? That can also interfere with absorption. Yeah, so these are some of the things that can predispose you to nutritional deficiency. However, there are two things probably I might go into detail later. Lifestyle. So when I talk about lifestyle, people decide to be vegans. Okay, that stay away from meat completely, or you may have people trying to go on a ketogenic diet. Yes, so that too comes with some nutritional deficiency if not handled properly. So these are some of the things that can predispose a woman to nutritional deficiency.
Okay. Okay.
Yes,
So, would you say women are highly prone to nutritional deficiencies?
yes they are. Well, I could talk about it from this angle. In these modern times, I mean, the modern woman is very sophisticated. So image is everything. People have set a target on their ideal body mass index that they would love to have. Okay. Social media also creates a different kind of reality for some women. So they see an attractive lady with particular physique and then decide, okay, I would like to do that. So they sign up on different dietary regimes from different dietitians, or they adopt a lifestyle, they have a life coach, etc. So women, yes, and usually it's tied to image. Okay, right.
Okay. So, you mentioned a few things earlier, but
Right.
with women, what are the common nutritional deficiencies
Right. So
associated with us?
right. So iron, that's the first David mentioned. Iron,
Mm.
vitamin D, okay,
Okay.
calcium,
Okay.
folate, that's vitamin B9, okay, iodine, you could have magnesium, potassium, and a few
Mm.
others. I think, yes,
Okay.
these are some of the micronutrients that women could lack. Yes.
Okay. So, what are some of the things that we do that lead to or cause these deficiencies in women?
Okay, so in some cases, it's not entirely deliberate. So let me give an instance where in pregnancy, we tend to see quite a number of pregnant women develop anemia. That's usually is a physiological or normal process with pregnancy. Okay, yes. For the most part, what is voluntary is when ladies decide to adopt a lifestyle. We tend to have ladies developing a condition that's anorexia nervosa. Yes, that is when a lady decides that, I want to be thin or have, let me use the word, a Caucasian outlook. Okay, I don't want to be perceived as being fat, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So she deliberately sometimes starves herself, or
Yeah.
she may have very tiny portions of food. They tend to go to the extreme when they
Yeah.
want to incorporate certain concepts of dieting into their regimen. So, for example, the concept of intermittent fasting, there are rules governing that type of uh, dietary measure, but then they might take it or exceed the number of hours required during the fast. And then when they
Yeah.
are supposed to break the fast, they probably decide to go with very tiny portions of food. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
So basically, lifestyle and inadequate intake,
Okay.
inadequate that's quantity, and then the quality of the food. Now, I mean, people want something that's quick to prepare, easy, like quick to go, right?
Yeah.
So they'll go in for the junk food or food that lacks portions from the different food groups. Yes. So these are some of the things that contributory.
Okay. Okay. Now, most of us in the Women in Prayer group are still quite young,
Right?
ranging from 20s to say late 30s. And so now I'd like to know, how does age become a factor for to nutritional deficiencies in women? And is there a particular age we get to where we begin to experience, or you begin to see that women usually experience nutritional deficiencies? Does age become a factor?
Yeah, age does. And in fact, there are studies to show that at certain points in time, a woman undergoes transition. So let's talk about, for example, menarche, the first time you have your menses, till you become pregnant, and then become menopausal. Each of these transitions are very huge in the life of a woman. You get it? So
Yeah.
with these transitions come certain nutritional requirements by the body. So I'll give instances where we've had um, people along these transitions developing, for example, iodine deficiency. So in effect, they have issues with the thyroid. You get it? These stem from transitions. With ladies, usually above 40, it's interesting. They say life begins at 40,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it comes with a lot of health implications. Um, Usually, the metabolism, the rate at which we break down food to derive nutrients, slows down as we grow. Typically, in women, the research showed from 35 years, 40, so 35 to 40, you could have a woman's metabolism declining. Okay, so then
Okay.
it influences the type of food you should take. Okay,
Okay.
I'd usually recommend um, well, we have options. Okay, we have
Mm-hmm.
options,
Mm-hmm.
and I think realistically, you'd have to couple that to a lady's body goals, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So overall, you want to be healthy, but at the same time, everyone has their body goals. That's
Yes.
just
Yes.
being realistic, right? So it's known that if you could have like sizable proportions of the nuts, okay, dried
Mm-hmm.
fruits, legumes, lean
Okay.
meat, okay, veggies, etc.
Okay.
And these could give you that balanced diet that your body requires. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, there are instances where you can modify depending on, like on what I said, the body goals.
Yeah.
You could reduce your carb intake, and that has
Okay.
its benefits. So I think taking the sources of food like vegetable oils, healthy plant oils like
Mm-hmm.
sunflower, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oil, which is rich in omega-3. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you have fortified cereals, rich in iron,
Okay.
some lean meats that can also give us iron.
Okay.
You want your micronutrients, veggies from veggies, fruits, okay, vitamins
Yeah.
from fruits. I believe these, if well constituted, can give you um, rich food, very
Mm-hmm.
healthy, yes, and well, maybe a little bit expensive. Again,
Yeah.
being realistic, but I mean, uh, with very good budgeting, you can actually design something that would not be too costly for you, but
Yeah.
overall help you achieve your health goals. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's better to spend on staying healthy.
Okay. True.
So, um, moving forward, what are some of the symptoms of nutritional deficiencies?
Yes. Because we are dealing with like this is a very broad thing. I'm just going to pick a few of the
Okay.
sides you pick that are quite visible. Okay. So
Okay.
if you start from the head going down, you could have hair loss, right? You could have blood vision. You could have
Okay.
mouth lesions like sores in your mouth. Okay. Changing
Mm-hmm.
appearance of the tongue. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You could have changes in the way your heart beats. Okay. Yes.
Okay.
You could also have dry skin, pale skin.
Okay.
You could have
Mm.
slow healing when you have a wound. Yeah.
Okay.
For the elderly, they tend to have bone and joint issues. So some develop fractures when they
Yeah.
fall. Yes. We have people exhibiting mood changes and
Okay.
libido. Yes, sometimes affects the libido. So these are some of
Okay.
the things you see. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
men with nutrition deficiencies. Yeah.
Okay.
We also
So,
have,
mhm.
sorry, we also have changes in the menstrual cycle. Yes. So
Okay. If we spot such changes, um, what should be one of the first things to do? I mean, what should we do if we start noticing bits and pieces of these symptoms or changes?
yeah. So knowing how important it is to be on a proper diet. Once you start showing signs or symptoms of nutritional deficiency, you can't do this alone. It's a multidisciplinary approach. So it means that we need people to intervene, okay? Because then it means that your nutritional needs have changed. You need
Yeah.
experts to help you. So the first point of call should be your nutritionist, your dietitian. Okay.
Okay.
Then the nutritionist will work hand in hand with the doctor. Okay, so for example, if an old lady who didn't have like a rich soft calcium falls, breaks a bone, yes, the orthopedic surgeon would take care of her, but a nutritionist will keep coming in to help her to supplement her diet. Yes,
Okay.
there's usually a multidisciplinary approach, right?
Okay.
And the nutritionist plays a key role in helping the individual to know what the body needs, the right sources of nutrients from various food groups. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. So, is it possible
Yeah.
for one to be overly nutritional,
Yes.
like
Okay. So,
having a risk of maybe a high nutritional level?
right. That is what leads to obesity. Okay. So with obesity, you're talking about body mass index. Okay. That's using two parameters, weight and height. Body
Okay.
mass index of more than 30 kilogram per meter squared. That's the unit. It is possible, and we tend to see that in the urban areas. Okay,
Yeah.
people resort to intake of food with high caloric value. Okay, so people load a lot with carbs or even fatty meals, but unfortunately, because most people have a sedentary lifestyle, that puts them at risk of developing obesity as a form of over nourishment. So yes, it's possible.
Okay. Interesting. I was really thinking about that because some of us are really, when we hear about the deficiencies, we really try hard to take in a lot of, things that have more nutrients. But if it's also possible to be overly nutritional, then
Right.
yeah, we need to watch that as well.
Yes.
Yeah. But these days, we tend to see many people depending highly on daily supplements to keep them going, to give them
Right.
energy and the like. So are dietary supplements such as vitamins and minerals, important in a healthy diet? Or is it better for us to just, stick to our healthy meals like fruits and vegetables rather than the supplements?
Right. So I'll give you an instance where we have vitamin D, which we can derive from sunlight. Okay. The other nutrients need to be derived from diet or supplements. So, with a person who is healthy and can get the nutrients from the right food sources, I don't think it's necessary to take in extra nutrients. You get it, or
Yeah.
take in extra supplements, right? Because I mean, too much of everything is bad, anyways. And another thing too is the body will just take what it needs and the rest will go waste. So financially it doesn't make sense. That's for someone who's healthy. However, for people who have specific conditions, okay, let me use the issue with okay, two things. I'll give you one normal situation which requires supplementation, and then an abnormal one. So the abnormal one, let's look at the elderly folk, okay, women when they get into menopause and require enough calcium or omega-3. That is a requirement because by virtue of age, metabolism, and then the transition, that's menopause. Yes, it requires calcium for strong bones. Okay.
Okay.
In pregnancy, where you can have what I described earlier as physiological anemia, right? We do give iron supplements, right? That is like a normal variant as compared to the elderly. Okay, yeah. So depending on the situation, you might have to supplement, but a healthy individual getting the right uh, amount of nutrients from diet wouldn't need to get these supplements.
Are there any side effects to taking these daily supplements? Or what should we know about the intake?
Right. Yes, there are quite a number of them may have certain side effects, right? I'll give an example, right? And this is something I discovered some time back, and it was quite interesting. Some of them might have very complicated explanations, but I'll give an example that is a bit sensitive, and that is coming up uh, nowadays. So there's this condition that's endometriosis, right? I'm certain you've heard about it. People are making noise about endometriosis and talking
Yeah.
about how it's linked to um, infertility and pain, pelvic pain. It would interest you to know that some studies have been done and they realized that excessive amounts of vitamin D has been linked to endometriosis.
Interesting.
An abnormal condition of the endometrium, like the inner lining of the uterus. So excessive vitamin D is predisposed in some individuals to.
Then I'll be hiding from the sun more often. Interesting.
Yeah, so these are some of the things, like taking these in excess, right? And gives even the liver a lot of work because the liver deals with a process known as detoxification of drugs. See? or alcohol, for example. So liver just works on drugs. So excessive intake gives the liver a lot of work. Yeah, so and we have to be careful with what we take in. If we need to be educated by a dietitian or your GP before you take steps in um, procuring a supplement. Because these supplements come with so many ingredients that most people don't even look at properly. I'm sure when you look at one of these multivitamins, you
Yeah.
see so many things, L-carnitine, selenium,
Yeah.
so many things. Yeah. These things you need guidance because you might be taking an excessive dose of the
Yeah.
supplement. Yeah.
Yeah. So in essence, these multivitamins and things we'll be taking should actually be guided by maybe a doctor's prescription
Exactly.
or patient,
Exactly.
or not
Exactly.
self-medication.
No more self-medication. Right.
Okay. I think many of us are guilty of that,
Sure.
including myself.
This is the best of us. Yeah.
Okay. So let's narrow down to two of the needed nutrients.
Right.
I'll look at calcium for one.
Right.
Why is calcium very important for women, and what are some of the sources?
Yeah, so calcium simply helps with formation of strong bones. Okay, you need strong bones, especially for the elderly. In adults, there's a condition called osteomalacia. Okay, or we even have older people having osteoporosis. That's a result of calcium deficiency. So that can predispose you to fractures. Okay, so it's very pathetic when you have the elderly having fractures, especially at the hip. Yes, so calcium is indeed very important for formation of bones. Also helps in muscle contraction, so your movements day in, day out. It's great. Um, you ask for sources of calcium. We have milk, okay, milk, whether skimmed or not skimmed, milk, cheese, yogurt, etc. These are some of the sources of calcium, right? Okay.
So let's look at iron as well. Why is it important to us, and what are some of the sources as well?
Yeah, iron is very important to women, especially in the reproductive age. See, because I spoke about the physiological anemia. Okay, women require iron. I usually prefer um, women to derive a lot of iron from uh, dietary sources, okay, and not entirely rely on supplements. Some of the dietary sources we have lean meat can do that. Liver from animals, very rich. You could have fortified cereals, it provided iron, yes. A few other legumes, yes, and fish, etc. These are very popular sources of iron. And people tend to, now we are quite, like again, I said sophisticated.
Yeah.
So people tend to take the techie berry. Now, no one is talking about contemporary. We become so westernized. We use things like techie berry, and that's okay. That's fine. But that is especially important in pregnant women or women who have um, gynecologic conditions like bleeding uterine fibroids. Okay, women who have um, PCOS, that's polycystic ovarian syndrome, when they have disturbed menstrual flow, etc. So yeah, iron is one of the most important nutrients I feel every woman should pay attention to. Right?
Okay. So are there any tests or screenings available to detect these deficiencies, nutritional deficiencies?
Right. There are. In fact, for iron, we have a test called the full blood count. It gives us an idea of how your red blood cells are using iron. Okay. And that reflects on your blood level.
Okay.
Uh, you could also have iron studies. That's more advanced. Okay. Especially when we have people suffering from iron deficiency anemia. Yes,
Okay.
we do the iron studies. We can also measure calcium. We call that
Mm-hmm.
serum calcium. Yes, and based on what the individual would exhibit, we do these tests and then we treat. But then, in terms of screening, it depends on the category you fall within. If it's pregnant women, routinely we have a full blood count done to monitor um, the hemoglobin level, okay, or blood level.
Okay.
If it's an individual who is not pregnant or a lady who's not pregnant and is conscious about health um, and doesn't have certain conditions like anemia from any other cause, maybe heavy bleeding during her menses, I
Yeah.
believe the biannual checkup should suffice.
Okay.
But
Okay.
if there are conditions that would predispose you to anemia, then
Yeah.
uh, you would have to liaise with your medical doctor, okay, to
Okay.
help you to um, correct these deficiencies and maintain the optimum level, okay, of
Okay.
nutrition. Yes.
Okay. Okay. So these days, actually, um, there's people are going more into keto,
Right.
intermittent fasting, like you mentioned earlier.
Right.
It's very common. And I'd like to know, are they for everyone? And how do these dietary plans affect our nutritional levels?
All right. So originally, the keto diet was designed to help children with epilepsy. So children
Okay.
who were having repeated seizures. Uh, some nutritionists picked
Mm-hmm.
up a few things from the keto diet and realized that people were able to lose weight considerably. So they decided to replicate the diet, probably make a few adjustments, and then get results. So if you probably talk to friends, most likely tell you, "Oh, I have dropped a lot of carbs or carbohydrates, and then I have increased my fat intake." Okay.
Okay.
Some people have had very drastic weight loss. Okay, I know people. Okay, I'm back. Right. I know people that went on the keto diet and trust me, they lost so much weight. But there are different schools of thought in regards to the keto diet. Some research has shown that it's actually beneficial to those who are obese or who have type 2 diabetes
Okay.
because it promotes weight loss. And weight loss is good. We want weight loss. And they typically derive that from reducing the carbohydrate intake, right?
Okay.
Other studies state that now there's an increase in the intake of fat. Okay, the keto is from ketones, you see, because once your body is not burning glucose, it's burning
Mm-hmm.
other things like fat. And
Yeah.
then the ketones are produced in the liver. Okay, and then they serve as a source of fuel for the body. Yeah.
Okay.
So people tend to resort to the fat as fuel to be burnt and reduce carbohydrate intake. But another school of thought thinks that fine, we hear you about reducing your carbs, but then how about the issue with an elevated level of a type of fat, if I should put it that way, the LDL.
Mhm.
It's called low density lipoprotein. And
Okay.
that's when you do your cholesterol test, they'll say that's the bad cholesterol. They realize that the increase in the intake of this fat, okay, is
Mm-hmm.
predisposing people to elevated cholesterol levels. Now, cholesterol can deposit in your blood vessels. It can deposit in your heart, like the vessels that supply the heart. So you can have high cholesterol can predispose you to hypertension. it can predispose you to heart disease.
Yeah.
So then it's interesting. Others have a perception, okay, I want to drop carbs. I want to maintain like just a normal protein level, but I want to drop fat because I want to eliminate the risk of developing heart disease. So it's some people call this modified keto diet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there are rules of engagement. People don't hydrate during this time.
Yeah.
People take a lot of fat, low carbs. People think I don't need to have a workout session, or I don't have a well-defined um, time frame for going on this diet. Some people can go on the keto for years. I know someone like that.
I
But
see.
yeah, it's all for the cosmetic outlook. There's
Yes.
not pressure
Yeah.
now. Social
Yeah.
media is really
Mm.
doing the number on us. So yeah, these are some of the things we have to look at. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's why I wouldn't advise anyone to just embark on the ketogenic diet just because a friend is also on the diet and you've seen results.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also feel that it's one of the things that if you decide to embark on, you need to be assessed nutritionally because you might be depriving yourself of essential nutrients
Yeah.
when you try to go extreme, right? And that's when you can also do tests to make sure your vital organs are fine, your blood sugar regulation is good,
Mm-hmm.
okay, yes, your liver function is good too. So these are some of the things.
Okay.
Okay.
Very interesting. So you talked earlier about the quality of food we eat. Talked
Yes.
about the quantity as well.
Yeah.
And considering the kind of meals we eat as Africans, Ghanaians, and
Yeah.
the like,
Yeah.
the banku, fufu, and the rest. How do we measure our meal portions, to make sure that they're actually having the right nutritional values to us?
Right. True. Usually the nutritionists have a lot of tools they use in helping people calculate the calories. Yes. I don't go too much into that. But if I'm to give something more practical, okay, let's take a scenario. Let's take a scenario, right,
Okay.
where
Okay.
someone is a banker. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, let me use bankers.
No problem.
You're taking 3 square meals, morning, afternoon, morning, afternoon, evening.
Mm-hmm.
You probably go to work by 8 o'clock and get
Yeah.
home at 5. Morning, afternoon, evening, you're constantly seated,
Yeah.
attending to people,
Yeah.
but you're taking in more carbs, more carbs, more carbs. The body find a way to store those carbs, like fat.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
glycogen and fat. So then people start wondering, oh my goodness, I'm getting a big tummy. I need
Mm-hmm.
to. Then that's when they go
Mm-hmm.
for the slimming teas and stuff.
Yeah.
And the idea is not to take too much or too little to deprive your body of glucose. See, because carbs
Okay.
give you the fuel you need.
Yeah.
It's about moderate consumption. Sometimes I tell my clients or patients that when we are trying to, before they engage the dietitian, I tell them that the dietitian will give you like a detailed um, assessment
Mm-hmm.
or a detailed menu with the caloric intake and all that. But I
Okay.
tell people if you are used to a particular load of carb intake, it's a gradual depreciation or dropping off. Because when you try to get off your regular menu quickly, the body will rebel. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I shared with you the last night. There was an instance where I wanted to detox. So I quickly switched to juices and uh, juices, smoothies, and vegetables. It was crazy because I was struggling with withdrawal. My body was, and I was working out. My body was used to a particular intake, but adding a workout to this diet wasn't the best idea because
Yeah.
I was burning a lot of calories, but I was not replacing. The concept is reduce what you usually take that will get you so full. So I was going to talk about the early morning watch. I know some of the people in these corporate institutions will kill me because, on their way to work, they just get watching
We don't play with our watching.
at all. And then it's like people really want like the lady to top up, right? And then they add a few more things to it. But it's still like a lot of carbs in the morning.
Yeah.
Carbs in the morning. But you see, you will benefit from, let's say, fiber-rich diet in the morning. And that sustains
Okay.
you through because it burns slow, right?
Okay.
That's one approach. So usually the dietitian gives you detailed information, which I don't think we can cover.
Yeah.
Need some illustrations,
Yeah.
and but then
Yeah.
it's all about portion control, right?
Okay. I think we'll take some questions if there are any. Maybe about 2 or 3 questions before we move on to physical activity.
Right.
Okay, there's a question here. Is it okay to take pills to help reduce appetite whilst trying to manage weight after birth?
After birth, that I wouldn't advise. You see, because you're going to lose appetite. Okay, your body still needs some nutrients as well as the baby. You get it. So if you're depriving yourself of the right amount of nutrients, because you need to be physically in shape, mentally in shape for the breast milk production to be like well established. Yeah, so I wouldn't advise diet pills immediately after pregnancy. Talking about diet pills, the diet pills have been recommended by FDA. But then I feel that the original like indication or reason for using diet pill was to encourage weight loss, reduce obesity, and then the risk of type 2 diabetes mellitus.
Okay.
What I've found in my practice is some people have come asking me for diet pills because they feel it's the easiest way to lose weight. But for me, I tend to recommend diet pills for people with cravings because they crave a lot. So I've had some success with a number of people who had these cravings, but then they took a diet pill and it helped with the cravings. Helping with the cravings, these cravings were junk food. Okay, crave pizza, crave lots of things. So I wouldn't recommend it for the lady who just had a baby.
Okay. We'll just dive into physical activity. I think our discussion on nutrition has been very insightful so far. And I guess we can't really see the effect of nutrition without for some physical activity, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that means physical activity is very important for all women throughout our lives.
True.
So what exactly do medics mean by physical activity? Because I know wrestling is also a physical activity.
Right. The WHO talks about you voluntarily using the muscles. Okay, the muscles we use in movement are the skeletal muscles. Okay, and in doing that, it's a deliberate effort. In doing that, you're expending or you're using a lot of energy to execute the movement. So that's what we say when we mention physical activity.
Okay. I think I missed a question earlier.
Okay.
How do we safely lose weight after birth?
Yes, that is also a very good question because I've had people asking me about that. Safely lose weight. Obviously, depending on how you had the baby, whether it was a spontaneous vaginal delivery, that's a normal birth, or a cesarean. We have a diet plan, okay, and then we have exercise that we can couple, okay, to assist women to lose weight, okay. Typically, after a cesarean, I wouldn't push someone to exert themselves since we're talking about physical activity. Okay, I wouldn't also bother the person so much in doing a very restricted diet because the cesarean involved a cut. Okay, and with that, you need the right amount of nutrients for healing to take place. You get
Yeah.
it? So your
Yeah.
micronutrients are very important
Yeah.
right there. But there is still portion control. Portion control. Uh, I know typically for most women after delivery, not immediately after, but after delivery, they get home. They tend to get back to the usual diet, unlike in pregnancy when there are cravings and there's an increase
Yeah.
in their intake. So they
Mm-hmm.
tend to come to normal diet. Then I think what would really help is to for them to rely on food with high protein
Okay.
intake because a lot has gone on. We need proteins to replenish or to rebuild certain structures. Okay.
Okay.
But then if they can gradually, let me describe the word as to taper down. Okay. Taper down and the carbs gradually. Some people can take 2 balls of kenke.
Easily.
We can trim that to one. Okay.
Okay.
But another thing too is whilst you are dropping something, you are increasing something else in another
Okay.
group. So if you are dropping the, let me use another food, maybe jollof. I like jollof.
Okay.
So if, if you are dropping the portions of jollof, you are
Uh-huh.
increasing your vegetables.
Okay.
You are increasing your intake of fruits. You
Yeah.
are eating maybe in between. You have a high protein snack to give you some energy. Yes, these are
Okay.
ways you can just gradually lose the weight before we
Okay.
even incorporate exercise that's safe, depending
Yeah.
on the delivery. Right.
Okay. Okay. So delving back to our discussion on physical activity,
Right.
many of us know what it is,
Yes.
or but we still want medical advice on why it is important to add physical activities to our routines. In
Yes.
addition to what you said for people who have just delivered, for the rest of us, daily routines, why is it important to add physical activity?
Right. I mean, physical activity, overall health, makes you feel good. It gives you clarity of thought. You're able to think through stuff very well at work. It gives you a good quality of sleep. These are things, I mean, money can buy, right?
Yeah.
Then it also helps you to be physically strong, okay? Works on the muscles, works on the joints. Yeah, and helps with mood, right? Uh, During the peak of the COVID, we advise to do some physical activity, helps with mood, takes away depression. Yes. So physical activity is really beneficial.
Yeah. Okay. What are some of the problems that may arise from failing to engage in some physical activity?
Yes. So with that, you can have the risk of becoming obese. You see,
Yeah.
when that happens, you're at risk of developing some chronic illnesses like diabetes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Elevated cholesterol, hypertension. Lack of physical activity has also been linked to certain types of cancers. Has also been
Okay.
linked to uh, or gynecologic problems in women. Yes, mostly related to the menstrual cycle. So
Interesting.
these are some of the things that can arise from um, not doing a lot of physical activity.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there's some figures that, I mean, when they did the estimate, about 5 million deaths that were recorded in the year could have been averted or avoided if people had just exercised. They would have reduced their risk of developing some of these diseases I mentioned. We call them the non-communicable diseases. So, I,
Really
yes. So,
interesting.
yes, yes. And
Okay.
clinically, I have seen quite a number of people come with these conditions. Okay, diabetes, hypertension, and it's interesting because back then we thought it was for the old people. Now we
Yeah.
have people in their 30s or in their 40s having hypertension, diabetes, high cholesterol.
Yeah.
Obesity, sedentary lifestyle is what is really hurting us and our inability to exercise like we should.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some of us have had this sedentary lifestyle for quite some time.
Right.
So I'm sure following this discussion, we'll want to start some physical activity. So we wouldn't be part of the statistics
Right.
of
Exactly.
people falling off the face of the earth from not
Right.
exercising. So
Exactly.
for an easy start, what would you recommend for an easy start
All
of
right.
what kind of physical activities can we engage in?
Depends on the age.
Okay.
Which age which
Okay,
age
let's look
people?
at maybe from the ages of 20 to say 45.
Right. Right. So WHO again, I'm making a reference to the WHO. Is
Okay.
saying that you can do moderate and vigorous aerobic activity. Okay, so aerobic activity, we all have an idea of aerobics.
Yeah.
They're recommending, if I'm to give a range, between 75 to 300 minutes per week. So, like, they're looking at least, let's say about an hour, right? About an hour uh, per day, or in some cases 30 minutes daily, doing
Okay.
some kind of workout is
Okay.
recommended. Yes, usually they say 5 days a week and do um, a workout that would last 30 minutes. Yes, but usually this is for the uh, young at heart like you.
Like me.
Yes, yeah,
Fantastic.
and it's to be more realistic. I feel that would be very difficult for someone who works maybe from 8 to 5 because
Again,
probably
I
the person lives really far and has to uh, set off maybe 5 a.m.
yeah.
Um, People wake up at 4 a.m. because
Yeah.
they have to speak in tongues like 1 hour. You know. Okay,
It's important.
very important, very important. Yeah, that is spiritual activity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So so she has to leave at 5, right? Let's keep in mind she might not even have time to fix herself breakfast proper. So we should pass to the magic joint here. Then
Yeah.
we're looking at her getting to work. She's coming back. She's in traffic. She gets home like 7.
Yeah.
When can she work out? Like when? So even though we have the standards, right? I think we have to tailor things according to, for example, occupation, family situation. Some people have kids. You have to wake up, bathe the kids, get the breakfast ready, dress them up, like chase them
Yeah.
around. Okay,
Yeah.
that's physical activity, but it's not meant to you don't derive full benefit from
Yeah.
that. But that's the dilemma, you see, because then when does she get to um, work out? Because then she
Yeah.
has to pick the kids from school, prepare supper, etc. Yes.
Yeah.
So the number of hours, for me, I would recommend let's start small. If you can work out 2 days in a week, 3 days in a week, perfect. If it's 10 minutes, it's fine. For example, skipping, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Maybe if when you work in a bank, you had a bad day, just put all the frustration in skipping rope. Skip. Okay, just skip. Or if you just want to walk around the compound, it's excellent, right?
Yeah.
I know some corporate institutions have a gym.
Mm-hmm.
So when you go to work, just carry your gym outfit, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then when it's break, or when you have some free time, you can quickly go hit the treadmill, few minutes, just freshen up, get back to work.
Yeah.
It's really good. So I think you can always adjust to the situation. Yes, but
Okay.
ideally, for young ladies, 3 to 5 days in a week. So your weekends, whatever you need to do, your events, etc. Yeah, you're fit.
Yeah.
You have time. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 3 days starters, maybe 10, 15 minutes you build up to a
Yeah.
level that you're comfortable with and sustain. I think it's great.
Okay. 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 Is there a connection between physical activity and the way my hormones may work as a woman?
Right, right. There have been studies to show that physical activity. So let me give you two instances. There's one where you over exert yourself or you do too much, and there's
Yeah.
one where you do very little. All of
Okay.
it can disrupt your, like for example, your menstrual cycle, or might have effects on ovulation. In fact, even with diets, I didn't mention, they've linked certain deficiencies to issues with ovulation or your menstrual cycle, like vitamin D, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Vitamin D is very required. Fertility, vitamin E, yes. But with exercise, so let me use female athletes, okay? And this is not to scare
Okay.
anyone who is doing sports like leisurely. But they realize that sometimes women start having reduced flow when they start intense physical activity and it's sustained for a long period of time, right? So some of them actually tend to develop what we call amenorrhea. Okay, so that's the absence of menses. Yes, there's a name for it. It's a female athlete's triad. Okay, it comes with eating disorder and mainly issues with fertility. Okay, that's from excessive workout, and so not just at one time, but consistently. Okay, we
Yeah.
have people who can work out, like sleep in the gym. There's an
Mm-hmm.
obsession that can happen, but
Wow.
then reduce the exercise will predispose you to obesity, and there are hormones that would be called to play and can affect these reproductive hormones. So they change uh, your menses slightly. So from time to time, I encounter patients who come to me and say, "My flow has changed," and then
Yeah.
I realized this was just brief. I don't have any formal work done on that, but quite a number
Okay.
of ladies during the lockdown
Yeah.
came to me and mentioned, so my flow has changed. And then one of the things that cut across was most of them had gained weight. Most
Okay.
of them had gained weight. So
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I realized. So yeah, that's about it.
Okay. 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 I think there's a question quite linked to this. Just could lack of physical activity lead to cramps during the menstrual cycle?
Right, that's a good question. I recall depending on what could be causing the cramps or abdominal pain, because
Yeah.
there are several things that could cause pain if you pick one lady compared to the next. From some clinical experience, I've been told by some ladies, okay, that physical activity actually improved pain. So I've had more people telling me a little physical activity actually helped with the pain, and they did not require painkillers. So for me, it's actually the opposite that I've seen in more cases of. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a few people that experience pain when they make the slightest movement. Yes, I have
Yeah.
seen people who have like severe menstrual pain,
Yeah.
and they tell you, "Doc, I can feel it in my legs.
Mm-hmm.
Any slight movements
Yeah.
exacerbate the pain." Yeah, we might have cases like that.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
so it's
Okay.
possible.
Okay. So, Doc, what are some of the long-term benefits of us engaging in physical activity?
I mean, physical activity, so your heart, your bones, like heart health, bone health, guaranteed. I don't know if you realize this. Some of the celebrities in the Western world, let's say in the States, tend to look younger than their actual age.
Yeah.
Yes, they are rich, they can afford a particular lifestyle, but what
Yeah.
is key is they take the diet serious and they have like trainers, people who help them work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, some people still look good. So some people describe physical activity as anti-aging, keeps you young. Yeah, I've seen that long term. Like it's like
True.
you age slowly. It helps with your metabolism because your muscles are constantly absorbing glucose. Okay,
Yeah.
so it reduces your risk of developing type 2 diabetes and other chronic medical conditions. And then overall, it gives you that peace of mind. You know, mentally, you are sound, everything just you feel great. Yeah.
Okay. Now, not all of us are actually trying to lose weight.
Okay.
So there are some people who are actually trying to gain weight.
Again,
But
yes.
yeah, so for women who are underweight,
Yeah.
should they consider engaging in physical activity? What kind of activity should they be taking on?
Okay, so underweight, then we are looking at body mass index less than 18.5. That's
Okay.
by definition. Uh, Underweight still needs a workout. But let's look at it like this. There are types of workouts you do to achieve certain body weight. Someone obviously who is underweight does not require to lose more weight. Okay. The person might actually desire to gain some weight. Okay. So it is recommended that people who are underweight do not engage in high intensity aerobic exercise.
Okay.
So whether it's high intensity aerobic exercise or it's your high intensity interval training where you're doing
Yeah.
different workouts and having short breaks, it's
Yeah.
not required. But then with them, they need some dietary modification, not supplements, but their diet should be geared towards keeping them healthy and providing them um, sources of uh, the omega-3, protein especially, that will help to build muscle. So for them, they need exercises for strength, okay, and to help them develop muscle bulk. Protein is incorporated into uh, building muscle. So they need to do the strength exercise. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Fantastic. I think we've had a great session.
Mm.
Ladies, are there any questions? Okay, there's a question. Okay, would you recommend waist trainers during physical activity?
All right. So I think it's become a trend, and for most people, the misconception is uh, the waist trainers would put pressure on my abdomen and
Yeah.
then lose slim tummy goals, right? Okay.
Yeah.
There's a purpose for the waist trainers, even for people who wear what looks like a belt during weightlifting. It's deliberate. It's to help with pressure distribution. Okay. So I would prefer this. Okay. And I wish most ladies would take this upon themselves. We've talked about the dietary component. If you are able to work on the diet, the painful part is to now shred what we call the visceral fat or abdominal fat. Okay. One of the best ways to shred that is to do endurance training. Endurance training, you can cycle. Okay. You can swim. Or you can run long distances. These ensure weight loss, especially with the abdomen. I've not even gotten to workouts like planking.
Yeah.
People don't like to plank. But you see, if you incorporate a bit of these endurance training techniques, or you also use something like planking, you would measure like considerable progress. It's just that for most people, they want to see quick results. Okay, if there's something predisposing you from working out without a waist trainer, then of course, like notify maybe your instructor. Okay, but I think it's become how do I put it? It's just become let's wear the waist trainers, and sometimes it's so much pressure on the abdomen. I'm like, how are you like able to like work out with so much pressure? Okay, that's not strengthening your core. You need to do the actual workout and see the progress. Some people wear it and feel, my tummy is becoming smaller, so it gives you sometimes a false perception of it really is. However, there are some indications for using trainers for most people, especially those who want to handle certain weights, etc. Fine. But that illusion of making it conceal the tummy fats.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Dr. Delasy Kwame, for honoring our invitation.
You're always welcome.
On The Healthy Woman. We really, really, really appreciate it. Linda, I would hand over to Linda now.
All right.
Hi guys.
Hi Linda.
It was really good. Let me turn my video on. Can you see me, guys?
Yes.
My video is really bad. Okay, hold on. It was really, really good. Thank you so much. Very insightful. I can't wait for part 2. Please, we need a part 2.
All right.
And it's been really insightful. I think we need to have more of this, talks.
Yeah.
It's really important, especially about, all the myths about, health, nutrition, especially with the waist trainers, the pills and stuff.
Yeah.
It's really important for us to really have this kind of knowledge as women. Because I think now there's so much, even on the internet and stuff like that, that makes you believe all kind of things.
Right.
So it's really important for us to know all this, and I've really learned a lot. For myself, I've been struggling with a lack of iron for years.
Right.
So to know all this as well gives me a kind of kind of view or knowledge about what to do.
Yeah.
And Doc, we really want you to have you again for part 2. It will be so good.
Right.
I know we all enjoyed the sessions, ladies, and Della, well done. Honestly, it was very interactive, very interesting, and I'm looking forward to more of this.